Hey, what's happening? This is Jerry with Wealth Dynamics. I hope you're having a fantastic night. I definitely am. I'm not walking. I'm driving home. Be a long, cold walk home if I was walking home. But I want to talk to you right now about where money comes from. Because I don't think a lot of people know. I think a lot of people assume they know where money comes from. I think a lot of people generally know that money's just printed, but I don't think very many people actually know where money comes from, okay? So think about it. Like, money has to originate somewhere. You go to your job, your boss pays you, maybe you're a business owner, your client pays you. Like, that's technically, where the money came from, but where did it come from before that? Like, where did it originate at? At what point was the money actually released into the economy? Now, I didn't actually know this answer for a long time. I knew it was, somehow, like, the country had money and the government had money, and they would give that money into the economy and flow it through, and that there would be all of this money now that businesses could use, consumers could spend, bankers could lend. All of this stuff I knew originated from the government, but I didn't know how, and I didn't know what order, and I didn't know any of the steps, really. And so when I realized where money actually came from, it actually changed everything for me financially. Okay, I was having a conversation with somebody and they said, hey, what's the one piece of advice that you would give me? And I said, understand money. Understand money. Understand how it works. Understand where it comes from. Understand all of the things that involve money, and you'll do well in life. Now, here's what I want to share with you. I want to share with you where money actually comes from so that you can have an understanding of how you should operate with money. Okay, so from the standpoint of government, money comes from the U.S. Treasury, right? The U.S. Treasury, they get money into the economy through a process by which they sell debt to the Federal Reserve. Now, you might be familiar with the Federal Reserve and you might think you know what that organization is, but many people don't actually know what it is. So the Federal Reserve, what is that? If you've heard that term, the Federal Reserve is actually a privately owned mega bank. It's a privately owned mega bank, and this mega bank buys U.S. debt from a middleman. Okay, so check this out. U.S. Treasury needs money. They can't just whip money out of thin air, so what they do is they sell their debt to a bank. Okay, so the bank basically buys U.S. Treasuries in exchange for currency. U.S. Treasury now has currency. Now, this bank bought their debt, right? So they bought the U.S. debt. That's Treasury notes. This U.S. debt that they've purchased, they now sell it to the Federal Reserve. When they sell it to the Federal Reserve, they sell it for a profit. So they're going to make some money on the deal. And when this transaction happens, the U.S. Treasury is now indebted to a private mega bank. Okay, think about this. Like, that's where money comes from. Now, the thing is when the money comes from this mega bank, they don't actually have any money. There's nothing backing it. It's debt. So they're whipping it out of thin air as well. So they're taking nothing, turning it into money, using that money to buy U.S. debt from the private bank that was basically the middleman in the transaction, so that the U.S. Treasury can have money to disperse into the economy. And here's what goes down from there. The money goes into the economy. It ends up in your hands and my hands, right? Now, we can trace since 1913. If you had $1 in 1913 in the United States, today you need $24, over $24 to buy the same thing. We can trace that back and call that inflation, but I want to point out what's actually happening. Because this money is being borrowed into existence, it's actually reducing the buying power of your dollars because more fake dollars exist in the economy. Because more fake dollars exist in the economy, it takes more dollars to buy the same things. Bread didn't get better, it just takes more dollars to buy it. Chickens didn't get more expensive to have the eggs. Wheat didn't get more expensive to manufacture. Like, in all reality, because of technology and advancements, those things are actually cheaper to make. Think about that, but somehow they go up in price. They go up in price because it takes more dollars to buy the same thing. This is why, by the way, your retirement account is not actually performing well. On paper, it looks like it is, but all that means is it takes more dollars to buy a share of Apple. Okay, it might mean Apple's performing better, but for the most part, that's what it is. It takes more dollars to buy the same thing. Your home didn't actually appreciate. It just takes more dollars to buy the old dead piece of wood. Think about it. You think a home really went up in value after 30 years when all the wood is dried out and rotted and everything's old and musty and you don't like it anymore and you're gonna have to remodel it and redo the carpets? How is that home worth more money? It's not. It actually just takes more dollars to buy the same house. Okay, so inflation, this phenomenon of inflation is actually currency devaluation, meaning that we flooded an economy with fake dollars. It brought down the buying power of our current dollars, and now we need more of those dollars to buy the same things, which makes it appear like prices went up. Now here's the next kicker on the equation. You're gonna love this. You take your money and you put it where? You put it in the bank, just like they taught you to. You put your money in the bank, and you know what? The bank's gonna take care of it, and they're gonna hold it for you. And when you come back, they're gonna give you your money, and it's been sitting in a vault waiting for you the entire time, right? Completely wrong. Okay, when you give your money to a bank, they do what's called fractional reserve lending. Fractional reserve lending means this: a bank can legally loan every single one of your dollars out to 9 different people at the same time. For every $1 you give them, they can give that same dollar to 9 different people. Okay, they only have to maintain 10% liquidity. So if you give them $1,000, they loaned out $90,000 for the $9,000 for the $1,000 you gave them. If you gave them $10,000, they loaned out $90,000 for the 10 grand you gave them. Now, what did they loan it for? They loaned it for business lending. They loaned it for investments. They loaned it for consumer lending. Like, in a very real sense, if you had $20,000 deposited in a bank and then you went and got a car loan for $20,000, in reality, you might as well consider that you're borrowing your own $20,000, and that 8 other people are too. So what happens there? They took $1, they turned it into $10. That also creates more fake money. More fake money means that there's even less buying power with the current money that's in the economy. That's how this thing works, guys. So when you ask yourself, where does money come from? I want you to realize that money doesn't actually come from anywhere. It's an idea. It's made up. There's nothing backing it. That's the process. Now, the kicker on the back end of this is you pay income tax on it to the IRS, and when you pay to the IRS, you think you're paying for taxes to run the company or the country. It might as well be a company, right? To run the country. When they tax your income, most of the income tax is going towards paying back the debt that the U.S. Treasury owes to the Federal Reserve Bank. When the Federal Reserve Bank receives these payments, their company, they're profitable. There are owners of the Federal Reserve Bank, and these owners, they get a 6% dividend on the profits. Guess who the owners are? Banks. Okay, so get this. You have your money created by a bank that buys debt from the U.S. and sells it to another bank that they technically own as a profit. You then get the money and you deposit it into more banks, so they take the money that they gave you in the first place that they borrowed and sold to themselves and lend that money now out to 10 other people for every dollar you gave them. Then you're taxed so that the money that you deposited gets basically returned to the bank so that they can make profit on it. That's how money works, guys. If you don't understand that, it actually took me several months to hear this over and over and over before I finally got it down to where I could explain it like this. If you don't understand this, you don't actually understand money yet. Okay, financial illiteracy means that you don't understand this cycle. And 99.9% of Americans probably do not actually understand this cycle. And the ones that do have 3 options. Okay, the options are poverty. So you could say, I quit, I don't care about money, money doesn't matter. I had a guy telling me that today, oh, money doesn't matter. Okay, that's great, but when you need to buy something or give or invest, money does matter. The other option is denial. Pretend like you didn't hear anything I just said. None of it's real, it didn't happen, Jerry's crazy, this isn't actually like relevant or true. That's option number 2. That's called the middle class. Okay, the middle class means that you live in disengagement and lack of purpose and financial illiteracy, and you are the thing that makes the machine go. Or there's wealth. Okay, wealth means that you follow the traits of the top 1%. If you're going for wealth, that means what you need to do is you need to earn the money faster than it can be printed and devalued. Okay, if you're earning it at a rate that's faster than it can be devalued, that means that you're accumulating sooner than it can go down. Once you accumulate it, you need to save 40% of it. Okay, that's a statistic we get from the top 1% of wealth. By saving 40% of that money, you're actually copying the people that created this system. Once you save 40% of it, you're going to take that money, you're going to build it up into a big old pile, and you're going to buy an income producing asset. You're not going in the stock market, you're not going into cryptocurrency, you're going to buy an income producing asset. Why? Because your income is what's being taxed. Your income is what you trade your time for. Your income is what you give up your life and energy for. So wouldn't it be great if you could have an inanimate object do that for you instead? That's what you're doing. So you're getting the money sooner than it can be devalued. You're saving 40% of it. You're using that to acquire an inanimate object that will do the time and money exchange on your behalf so that you can be financially free. That's the plan. That's what Wealth Dynamics does. Okay, so if you're interested in learning more about that, I wanted to share that with you tonight because it was on my mind. Reach out to me and make sure if this was helpful for you that you like, share, and subscribe. There's tons of people in your life that need to know this information. I appreciate you all. Have a fantastic night. I will talk to you next time.